this rather snappy, won't you? I have some very heavy thinking to do before 10 o'clock.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Get It Right Texoma with the trio Mike Hendren, Terry McAdams, Trey Serrala. Glad to have you here with us. It's brought to you by Eddie Hill's Fun Cycles at 401 North Scott in downtown Wichita Falls. Since 1966, EddieHillsFunCycles.com, MacTech Solutions, 4020 Ray Road, Suite 3B, Finishing Touch Plaza in Wichita Falls, MacTech-Solutions.com, and also Lolly and Pop's Sweet Shop, lpsweet.com, the website, and on Facebook as well.
And by the way, if you'd like to sponsor this show or have us mention you, see Mike Hendren. He can take care of you on that.
Yeah, if you'll reach out to me, you can email me. You can email me directly if you want to. It's mike@hendrenmedia.com, or you can just reach out to me through the Facebook page as well if you'd like to do that. You can do that as well, please. We'd love to have you on board as a sponsor on our podcast. And we also
advertiser. Yeah, sponsor sounds like you're giving something. Yeah. Advertiser. Yeah, because that means we're giving you something back. We're giving you exposure.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're trying not to expose ourselves too much.
Be a supporter.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Just like an athletic supporter. Yeah. If you can't be an athlete, be an athletic supporter.
All right.
There's that, too.
Why are we here?
I don't know. Why the hell are we? Oh, yes. We are here. Our mission is to inform and entertain you. And we focus on a lot of local events and happenings. We also talk about things happening around the state, the region, national news as well. We have a lot of interesting guests. We've got several coming up here in the next few weeks.
Well, Ron Kitchens will be here.
Yes.
CEO of Wichita Falls Chamber of Commerce. And then I believe the very first show of July, or one of the early shows in July, Tim Short, the current mayor of Wichita Falls, will be on.
Yep. So, man, we got tons of people lined up.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Tim was our very first guest for season 2 of this podcast. So anyway. But a lot of interesting guests, so we got a lot of stuff going on. We want you to share this on all of your social media platforms, and we want your feedback. Give us your comments. Share our Facebook page, like our Facebook page.
Yes.
But we want to hear your feedback. We'd love to hear from you. What do you think of the show? What do you like? What do you not like? I mean, we're big boys. We can take the criticism, whatever that may be.
And that's the Facebook. Just search for Get It Right Texoma.
That's right.
And then you can go getitrighttexoma.com. And then, of course, our I said Facebook already, the YouTube channel, which obviously if you're watching it, you know about it, but if you're just listening, you can go to YouTube and search for Get It Right Texoma, and you can watch our mugs as well.
Hard to believe, but we put our pictures on the internet.
It's real tough to believe.
So anyway.
But guys, why is mine like this? So
why is there a big white square over your face?
Because it looks better.
What's a bug in the software? You know, it's AI.
We could get
all of a sudden it looks like you're grinding somebody's private parts out on the network TV. I'm pixelated.
We could maybe superimpose another celebrity's face over yours.
Yeah.
Fabio or someone.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
There's a throwback.
Yeah, well, that is. Yeah.
Man. Anyway.
All right.
Fabio about 30 years ago, maybe. But anyway. All right. Well, what's happening around Texoma? Well, we got the 4th in the Falls Freedom Fest coming up.
4th in the Falls.
4th in the Falls. And as the name would imply, it's July the 4th. It's all going to happen at the...
And as the name implies, it is in the falls.
Yes. Well, not like in the water.
Yeah.
Anyway, mess up the fireworks. Anyway, it's going to be at the Multipurpose Event Center, the MPEC, is where all of this is centered around.
I think it's called Liberty Park? There's a little... land area there between the Yeager Coliseum and the MPEC, and that's where most of the food vendors and that sort of thing. But there'll be some things inside and some things outside as well.
Okay.
Yes. Fireworks usually happen somewhere around 9:30.
Yeah, the fireworks are going to be outside.
Yes.
Just to be clear.
Yeah. Well, the official fireworks. Who knows what could break out inside. But anyway, but that's going to happen July the 4th, obviously. The 2024 Next Star Sports Awards.
I think it starts at 5 o'clock. So I think the fireworks start at 9 o'clock.
That's right.
And I think the event starts at 5 o'clock.
Yeah. So you enjoy the food and the drink and the party up until the fireworks.
Get liquored up for the fireworks. No coolers.
Yeah. Lubricated, Trey. You get lubricated.
There you go. That's right.
That's right. The 2024 Next Star Sports Awards coming up July 11th. It's going to be at DL Ligon Coliseum at Midwestern State University here in Wichita Falls.
Next Star is what
that's KFDX. It's the NBC affiliate,
Gotcha.
Channel 3 here in town. They do this every year. Tobin McDuff has been around Wichita Falls for a long time. Really great story. I interviewed him on a sports show that I used to do on a radio show years ago. And Tobin's a pretty fascinating guy. Literally showed up here and knocked on doors and tried Channel 6 first, by the way. And then they answered the door. But Tobin's been an anchor in the sports community in Wichita Falls for years, and they do this. And Next Star, I believe, is their parent company. But it's a local sports award. And when I say local, it's regional. Like they'll go out to Benjamin, Texas, and stuff like that. It's not just Wichita Falls. It's all the surrounding communities. And it's large school male athlete, small school male athlete, female athlete of the year, coach of the year, college coach of the year, play of the year. There's a lot of categories. And plus they have a Hall of Fame as well, which my business partner, Eddie Hill, was inducted into 2 years ago. But it's a great night of entertainment. It's a good meal. You go out, you get to see all these local athletes or regional, I'd say local, semi-local athletes get honored. And it's really a neat thing to go to.
Okay.
Well, the tickets are available through KFDX.
Right.
I guess you just go up to their studios and purchase them there.
I'm sure you can call them as well.
Yeah, okay. And they may have their websites, TexOmaSHomepage.com. There's probably some method of purchasing them through the
Google
website.
search, get on Texoma's homepage and search Next Star Sports Award tickets, and I bet you they get you fixed
Or if
up.
you even just type in KFDX.com, it automatically redirects you to the correct website.
Right. Which, by the way, I thought for years that was a pretty bright idea. Whoever picked up Texoma's homepage, whoever decided at KFDX to do that years ago, that's a good one.
Yeah, it was a really good idea. I wish I'd thought of it.
Yeah, there you go. And then you could have sold it to them.
I could have sold it to them.
Remember when the .com thing came out and all these people were buying up .com names?
Oh,
yeah.
Some people made a lot of money selling some of those.
I know. Well, if only I had known, if only we all had known back then.
And sex.com.
You could exactly, that would
Wow, Terry.
would have been the first one I would have jumped on.
Way to make the show PG-13.
The reality is that sex is what drove the entire the beginnings of the internet. That is what drove. That's what made money for people to be able to actually continue on. I'm just saying. Porn.
Sex and relationship, because a lot of people were looking for connections.
I don't know about that part as far as the like the dating sites and that kind of stuff. I don't know. Yeah, I just know that the big portion of it anyway was porn.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
I've been married to the same woman for almost 31 years. I've never used a dating site.
No.
And the concept is a little lost on me.
Yeah.
People meeting.
I've known.
But now you got farmers only. You got even very, very specifically on these dating sites, you could have like left-handed lesbian truck drivers or something like that, .com or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I think we better move on to something else here. Water.
Hey, guys, somebody's Google searching it right now. I said that. Somebody typed it in. Yeah,
there you go.
You know they are. The Wichita Falls City Council has made some water restrictions, some decisions on it. They had 2 votes to remove and 3 votes to stay under water restrictions. I guess we're still stage 1 right now. And we've sort of perpetually been at stage 1.
I'm not a fan, guys.
For the last 9 years, basically.
I think this is not a good thing. People have gotten an absolute assful of restrictions, and government officials tell you what you can and can't do.
Yeah.
And I think, especially when you're talking about bringing businesses in and things like that, and I think it's 64% lake levels is when it automatically kicks to stage 2.
Yeah.
I mean, we're a long way off from that. Yeah. And it's kind of one of those, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right.
And I think stuff like this it could be a deterrent to some of these companies who are thinking about coming to Wichita Falls and then going, wait a minute, you're doing water restrictions and you've got 80% of your lakes? I mean, look, when you're talking about the difference between 65% or 64% and
65 is normal.
Okay, 65% and 80%. when you're talking about this many millions of gallons of water, it's a lot.
It is.
It's not like you're going to run from that to that in a day and a half.
No.
Right, and the truth is too that the majority of the loss of water is through evaporation.
Yeah.
So evaporation is what causes it all. So we're going to have the evaporation whether you have restrictions or not.
The restrictions aren't going to bother nature at all.
Right.
Yeah.
So
be better putting a big old tarp over it.
yeah, this is a great increase. This is a 4 or 5% increase since the last time a couple of weeks ago. I mean, that because we've just had a
we've
great
had
deal of
And
rain.
it'll still keep coming in because we've had more water in the last weekend. Some of the water that we had this last weekend or a couple of days ago has not hit the lakes yet.
Right. True. We've had approximately 24 inches of rain since the beginning of the year, which is really good for our region. That's a considerable amount more than we normally. It's well above our average, and so it's been a very wet spring, and we've benefited greatly from it. And as Trey said, there's still water upstream of the watershed that has not made its way down to our reservoirs yet. It will in the coming days. And if you look at the weather forecast, there's a possibility we're not done with rain yet.
Even if we are, think about it. Just think about what this says in your head. We were not under a drought.
Right.
We were under some restrictions, but we were not in a drought.
Right.
And it's rained 24 inches this spring.
Yes.
Not in a drought, and
Right.
it's rained 24 inches,
Right.
and we're still under water restrictions.
The restrictions were a reaction to a drought situation that we had several years ago. That drought broke in May of 2015 when we had an incredible amount of rain in a very short period of time. Lake Arrowhead, for example, went from approximately 19% capacity to water literally flowing over the dam within a span of about a week.
Yeah, it was going over the spillway.
So we came out of that in a very, very rapid pace. I'm starting to agree with you on this, Trey, that the water restrictions, just the having that umbrella of restrictions over us, is now becoming more detrimental than beneficial.
I'm going to say unnecessary. I mean, it's just one of those deals. I think you kind of go back to, look, just because you can impose something on somebody doesn't mean you should.
Right.
And I kind of feel like we're to a point when we're going to be, you can be so conservative that it becomes detrimental. Okay, for instance. Okay, if we wanted to eliminate vehicle deaths in America, we put limiters at 30 miles an hour on every vehicle. No vehicle run over 30 miles an hour. Yeah. Could we live that way? Yes, we can.
Yes.
Would it be detrimental? Yes, it would. It would destroy economies. It would cause problems. I know that's a little bit more extreme than this, but it's still in the same vein. At some point, you're making rules or you're keeping rules in place when there's really not a reason to have a rule.
Well, the powers that be, their justification is, well, it's for our own good that we do this, that we restrict people on water. Well, but here's the thing. I think also in the years since that drought that was so severe here, a lot of mentalities and attitudes have probably changed. People now have gotten accustomed to not going out to the driveway to wash the car and just letting the water hose run down the driveway.
Yeah, to me, that's not that shouldn't be a restriction. That should just be that's a city ordinance.
Yeah,
you can't. You have to, if you're going to wash your car in the driveway. And I don't care if we have over full capacity or not. Put a shutoff nozzle.
Well, and here's another thing too. And I don't know that the city has this in place already. Maybe they do. I know the technology is there for them to do it because every household and residence and business in Wichita Falls today has a smart meter.
Yeah.
So your meter is being read remotely. Your water usage can be monitored remotely. Here would be a better plan. You got a house somewhere or a business somewhere, and 1 month their usage jumps dramatically, like way more than it normally would month to month. Somebody downtown picks up the phone, calls that person up.
In a 24-hour period,
yes.
and limit the damage, because that's happened.
Right.
And you end up with this crazy.
I know for a fact that where I live in Burnett, Texas, a city of 11,000 people, they can do that. They can tell me hour to hour what my water consumption is.
Well, you can use AI. It's not like you have to have humans looking at it. You have to use AI.
Well, no, you don't even need AI. It's if within you monitor and then.
But somebody's got to monitor it instead of having to pay a human being to monitor it.
No.
A computer monitor
it doesn't require AI. AI is what I'm saying. It doesn't require. It can simply. That can be programming, literally just logic.
Whatever it is.
Well, they can program.
What I'm saying is, you don't have to have a human has to go.
Exactly.
Jimmy John did this, and Sally Sue did this.
You could set parameters in the system,
an alarm, and
it'll automatically. Then an email goes out to someone at the water department and says, "Hey, this address is using." Their consumption is in excess of what they normally do.
It would be.
Then you get a human involved.
You'd have regular usage.
Yeah.
You'd have a small excess, major excess, and shitload.
Yeah. But then,
and when it gets to shitload, we need to have a phone call.
And somebody picks up the phone and calls you and goes, "Hey, wow, you used 18 units or whatever more water this month than you did last month."
And also, think about what about raising the prices? If somebody wants to use more water, if I want to use more water, let me use more water. Let me pay more for it.
See, I'm
okay with not raising the prices on the basis.
Right.
What I'm saying is get to a certain whatever the average is.
Right.
And then go up, and then maybe go to a certain percentage over that, and go, okay, now if you get into this, you're gonna pay more for your water.
What?
That way, it's an education thing. But it's choices. It's not saying thou shalt.
But didn't the council pass an ordinance years ago doing that very thing?
I don't know, because we're in water restrictions, so who the hell knows? Once
you exceed a certain limit, or a certain point, your rate automatically goes up, and I think that could still be in place.
It may still be in place. So once again, it goes back to at some point, you got to back off a little bit. Everybody wants less government in their lives, but okay, this is what pisses me off. I hear people that are relatively conservative, and they piss and moan about too much government, but they want to argue with me about the water restrictions. Right. That's too much fucking government.
Well, here's the deal.
That's what that means.
I have been...
Be consistent. Be intellectually honest.
Right.
If you want less government, then you want less government.
Right.
Don't say I want less government, but they need to do something about that guy.
Well, I've made this argument for years throughout my broadcasting career. I've made this argument that one of our biggest problems in America is we see something we don't like or something we perceive to be a problem or an issue, and our first reaction is to turn to government and go, "Government, you need to do something about this."
Right.
And so what we have done by virtue of doing that is over several decades we have allowed and helped to facilitate the creation of more and more agencies and more layers of government.
Bureaucracy.
More bureaucracy, more 3- and 4-letter agencies to regulate your life when it is totally unnecessary.
Well, but also, and I'll be honest with you, the biggest hypocrites on this are conservatives. Because look, there's a lot of liberal people out there. They want the government to run their life. They want more government control. They want all this. They're consistent on it. The most inconsistent, intellectually dishonest people on this are conservatives, are people who tend to agree with us on a lot of things. And it's like, less government. But you guys need to do something about that.
Yeah. Well,
Terry.
Here's basically in Wichita Falls, if you on your bill for the first 200 cubic feet of water, it's $4 and a penny. And then the next 800, so then now you're up to 1,000 is $4.20, and then the next 1,000 is $4.40. So you actually get a not really a discount, but you're paying. It doesn't increase as fast or it's slower, but as it ramps up a little bit. But anyway, the next 2,000, the next, so.
But there is an automatically built-in increase in rate.
Correct.
For increased usage.
So why not, as a city council, say, look, citizens, we're going to go off of this. Please be educated on, do some public education on this and understand. If you waste water, you're going to pay more in water. Well, educate people and let them make their own decisions rather than tell people what to do.
Trey, I'll tell you, and you've heard me say this over and over again. People in government, particularly the bureaucrats, the non-elected, the appointed bureaucrats who are in charge of various whatever departments, are some of the worst people in the world when it comes to communication or education for that matter. They just don't do a very good job. They may know their job and know it very well, and they may do an excellent job with their job. they just don't know how to communicate what they're doing and how they're doing it to everyone else.
Well, you have to be careful and not fall in trap. And look, I can speak from experience. I was a elected public official. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it is easy to go, hey, I know best, therefore I'm going to impose this. But you have to resist that at times, and you have to resist. I understand the experts. Some of the experts may be telling you this. Right, That's fine. Listen to the experts and take what they have to say, but also use some of your own logic and see what the repercussions are. By the way, COVID, who was the expert? Fauci. Yeah. What happened? We listened, not we, the general we. I didn't listen to Fauci. And some of these government officials, a lot of these government officials were citing Dr. Fauci and the WHO, and there's got a gnat there, and this sort of thing. Like, Karate Kid.
Our gnat is back.
Yeah. But so the WHO and all this, and they cited all this, and then they impose these restrictions without using their own other side of the brain and go, wait a minute, what's the repercussions going to be?
Right.
So I'll get off my soapbox on that, and I won't bring it up again. But I'm really sick to the back teeth of restrictions that I don't think are necessary.
Well, and what you need to do out there, you citizens of Wichita Falls, what you need to do is reach out to your counselor.
Yeah, just tell them what you think.
Whatever district you live in, or your at-large counselor, reach out to your city council representative and talk to them about it. You've got to, the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
And maybe they'll convince you. Maybe they have a lot of data and stuff like that. But the problem is, we all have the data. We all know, but I can read numbers. Numbers are numbers. Yeah. And you also go, okay, what's the detriment? And what I'm saying is, I still think the detriment could be what you need to understand is, and Ron Kitchens could really explain this better. When companies and businesses are starting to move into places, they look at everything.
Yes, they do.
They look at schools. They look at jail rate facilities, like your incarceration rates. There's companies out here that just try to find places for companies to go.
Right.
And they look at everything, and they do look at restrictions. Mm-hmm. They do look at how heavy-handed the government is.
Mm-hmm. How difficult or easy is it going to be for us to do business in that city?
Well, hey, on this specifically, now this is interesting. Now, this is on the 7th, right? Was when the vote was?
Yes.
It looks like. Okay. It says, although 3 council members voted in favor of lifting them and 2 voted against, the measure failed because councilors Mike Battaglino
okay.
And Bobby Whiteley were absent, so they didn't have a quorum. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, why would they even vote?
Don't know.
I don't understand that. So what? Let's see. I'm trying to see who voted against it.
They would have had a quorum to have the meeting.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I don't know if there's a higher level for removing a restriction. I don't know what they're.
Oh, okay. That
but I am telling you, the restrictions are still there.
Well. Okay. Well, I was just curious who voted, who actually voted.
I looked for it. It didn't show.
Okay.
Let's talk about the new schools here for a moment. We've got 2 brand new high schools in Wichita Falls, almost complete. Memorial is closer.
Oh, it's very close. They're about, they have furniture. It's not completely done, but they've got a lot of furniture in Memorial. Mm-hmm. They're still trying to finish the inside. They're getting some furniture into Legacy High School. Mm-hmm. Memorial is the one who's on the far west of town.
Yes.
And by the way, I know there's a lot of people going, that's crazy. You put a high school all the way out there? Well, one, where are you going to put it? You going to buy Lowe's out and put it on Kell Freeway? I heard so many dumbasses that would say, you ought to put it on Kell Freeway. Okay, where? Mm-hmm. It technically is on Kell Freeway. It's just at the end. Mm-hmm. But they were talking about the middle of town. Yeah. Well, you're not going to buy Lowe's out. You're not going to buy Walmart out. You're not going to buy any of those people out. And you're not going to you're going to displace a bunch of people that have houses right off Kell Freeway? Mm-hmm. No, you go find a piece of property that's available, that's still in Wichita Falls, and you build it out there. But what's going to happen is it's going to draw businesses out there. You're already seeing businesses are already starting to pop up out there. Yeah. They're going to build new neighborhoods out in that way. And then the second one is Legacy High School, which is on the eastern side of Wichita Falls as you're coming in, the southeastern side of Wichita Falls as you're coming into town. Mm-hmm. It's up on a hill. For years it was Cruise Acres. Mm-hmm. And so they're great high schools. They're beautiful buildings. Please take advantage of when there's a time to go take a tour when they start opening up tours. I was able to tour one with Donnie Lee, the superintendent of schools, a few weeks ago. And I think it's something that as a Wichita Falls taxpayer, if you're a WFISD taxpayer, you'll be proud of.
Yeah.
You'll understand how this will propel our schools into the future. Yes. Our kids will not only get great facilities, there'll be a lot of pride, but it's also the way the school's built. It's wide open. It's very efficient. Yeah. Every square foot has been thought of. How are we going to use this efficiently? There's not miles and miles of just walls that are just dead spaces and that sort of thing in these schools. And also they plan for the future. Back in the days, and there's nothing wrong with it. It just is what it is. There were no air conditioners. There were no internet. There was not even a computer. Why the hell would you need internet? There wasn't a lot of electricity demand. You're going to have, 2 things plugged into an outlet in the schoolroom. And so they basically built a box and built little boxes inside of a box.
Yeah.
Well, that's not how learning happens these days, and that doesn't give you room for connectivity and collaboration. Because what you have to understand is, we may have a kid that's sitting in a classroom in the WFISD, and he or she may be learning from a teacher in England, and there's English kids that are learning from. We have a lot of collaboration all over the world and global, and that is good.
Yeah.
It's good to experience other cultures because you have kids who aren't going to leave Wichita Falls, who don't have the means to travel and stuff like that. Well, when you meet people from other parts of the world, you get to learn a little bit more about your culture. You expand your horizons.
Yeah. Well, in the next couple of months, school will start back up in mid-August.
Yeah.
And I've heard there's going to be an opportunity for public tours in July.
Yeah, and Donnie Lee will be here July the 23rd with us. So, but
that's
I'm
when
sure
we record it.
It's when we record. I don't know when it'll drop, but he'll
shortly after.
Yeah, there'll be tours sometime in late July or early August.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know. And I would encourage everybody, especially those of you that have been critical of this, go and see.
Go take a tour.
Go find out what this is going to be like. I think from a marketing standpoint, it's going to be a very, very net positive for Wichita Falls.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
From an educational standpoint, I hope it's going to be a net positive across the board for Wichita Falls. A lot of that, of course, you get once you start getting into that. Now you get into it's not the buildings that educate the kids; it's the teachers, it's the staff. It's now you're getting into a whole other level.
Which is true, but the nicer you can make the facility, the better it is for kids to go, and it's better for staff to go.
Well, and these buildings are being designed to accommodate growth within the student body, and to accommodate that for many, many decades. These buildings probably won't be replaced for another 50, 60, 70 years.
Not with the way Wichita Falls does. We'll see. Yeah. Wichita Falls may change if we have a population growth.
Yeah.
There may be a shift in attitudes, but to be fair, fair to what you said, and what you said is dead on. There has not been a lot of appetite for people to spend more money to upgrade facilities and stuff like that.
There hasn't.
Not only school district, but city and county as well.
Right.
We have a lot of old buildings that we're still using.
Yeah, we do for sure. Let's see here.
Georgia appeals court. Then we'll just make that our last one for this show.
A Georgia appeals court has halted the election subversion conspiracy case against Donald Trump and several of his co-defendants. The court said the case will be on hold until a panel of judges rules on whether Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis should be disqualified.
Is it Fannie or Fawny?
I go with Fannie.
I just
like saying Fannie.
I wonder what it was when she grew up. That's the big twist is, was it Fannie when you grew up and then you got famous and you're going to call it Fawny, or were you Fawny from day one?
I'm going to say probably.
What'd your family call you?
Well, it's Georgia, so I'm going to go with Fannie.
That sounds probably more likely because of the region.
You get a little big in your britches, and suddenly you're Fawny. Kind of like
Fannie gets too big for your britches, and then you become a Fawny.
Duval, Oklahoma got 2 casinos, and suddenly it's Duval.
Yeah, Devo, yeah. Yep.
So anyway,
this is interesting because she brought this on herself.
Well, sure.
Well, first off, it's kind of a bullshit case to begin with, but even if you think it's a legitimate case, you go and hire a person who's never prosecuted a case like this,
and you happen to be in a relationship,
and then you start dating the guy. And now you're starting to, there's a lot of questionable things going on. You didn't think somebody was going to look into this? I mean, honestly, this is ridiculous to think. I think some of these people are so narcissistic. And I honestly believe part of it is because Fonnie Willis is a black woman, because she's already tried to throw the race card out there. She kind of thought she was above reproach. Yeah. Like, no, you're not above reproach because of the color of your skin or your gender. You should be held to the same standards as everybody.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be held to a higher standard. And I'm so tired of that crap too. Look, I'm not going to say that minorities and women and all that sort of stuff did not have to do things. They didn't have obstacles in their way in the past. There's no doubt that happened in the past. No doubt. But to say that in 2023, to say in 2022, to say in 2019 or 18 or 2000 that there were obstacles in place for women and minorities to not get jobs and things like that. Are you kidding me?
No.
That's ridiculous.
Well, I'll tell you where you do have to hold to a higher standard. When you have someone who is in a position of power.
Yeah, that's their color, but I agree with you, yes.
And you're in a position of power. Your position, whether you're a prosecutor, whether you're an elected official, whatever your job title is, when you're placed in a position of power that gives you the ability to impact other people's lives,
yes,
to do damage to their life, even
to take their civil liberties away.
Exactly.
You talk about that is about as big as it gets.
You have to be held to a higher standard because you hold in your hands a level of power and a level of responsibility that the average person will never know, will never enjoy, will never have. You have to be held to a higher standard because the abuse of that power, the abuse of that reach, that can be devastating on people's civil liberties, on people's lives. You have to be held to a higher standard, and so her position as a district attorney puts her in that position of being held to a higher standard.
Not the color of her skin and not her gender.
But simply because of her position, she's in a very, very powerful legal position in Fulton County. And she's her words carry a great deal of import.
Right.
Big time. And
unfortunately, some of her words have carried a great deal of import in bringing this pause here and have her investigated.
Upon herself.
When she says, I paid him in cash, yeah, I did this. No, I didn't have a relationship. And yet her friends going, yeah, they were together and this and that. You have to stay. Look, if you're in a position of, like Mike was saying, a position of authority, a position of power, something like that, you have to stay above reproach. You have to understand that all eyes are on you.
Yeah.
You don't get to enjoy it. And look, if you don't want to stay above reproach, it's one of the biggest reasons I didn't become a preacher. I know this is I've probably never told you guys this. I actually considered becoming a preacher at one time. It's hard to believe, right? But I did. When I was younger, my granddad was a Methodist preacher.
I knew that.
And when I was in my teens, I considered becoming a preacher in my early teens. I did realize that I probably didn't have the temperament for it, and that wasn't my whole thing. But part of it was, too, I saw how people in the congregation looked at my granddad. I looked at my granddad as Papa Joe the farmer, because that's what he was. But he was also a preacher. And I saw that people, the way that congregations looked at these preachers, I thought, I don't want somebody to put me in that position. I don't want to be put on a pedestal like that, fairly or unfairly. And I don't want to put myself in a position where I have to be beyond reproach all the time. So I'm not doing it.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to find what, in the Georgia State Bar rules of conduct for attorneys, and I'm not finding anything. But I got to believe, like what you were saying, that there's got to be, even as an officer of the court, that's all of them are technically officers of the court, I guess. And then, but being in a government position,
right,
that in order to extend or spend funds that
you're controlling government money. That's what you're saying.
Then how you've got to be above. I know that in the Air Force, it was the appearance
Yeah.
It's not even, it doesn't have to be true. It's if you, in some sort of conflict of interest, and if there's the appearance of impropriety.
Yes. It was a problem.
That was enough to get you,
Yeah, and that's it. So it was the idea that it's a margin of safety, if you will, to stay so far away from the possibility that somebody could interpret it.
That's right.
Now, clearly, there's some gray area at some point where somebody's going to, but if you keep so far away, if you have that margin of safety, if you will, then that shouldn't be a
for instance, people didn't realize Terry actually put his second star as a journal on, but after the whole investigation, he retired as a buck sergeant. They even have buck sergeant. They had buck sergeants when you started, right?
I did. Yeah, they did. I was a buck sergeant for a year.
So you were a buck sergeant.
That was,
then you got moved up to a non-buck sergeant.
Well, no, I'm sorry. Let me correct myself. It's been a while. So they did away with the buck sergeant rank, but after I was already a buck sergeant, but you were a senior airman for an E4 for a year, and then you became a buck sergeant. Now, in my case, I was actually probably about a year and a half. I was able to, I think it was about a year and a half. No, maybe 2 years.
You have to be over about 45 or 50 to even ever heard the term buck sergeant.
Yeah.
So you were more like a buck 50 sergeant.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
At least a buck and a half
So
sergeant, right?
E4, it was after a year of being a senior airman, we became a buck sergeant. That was the first level of being an NCO, a commissioned officer. But they did away with that rank, and so.
Well, guys, we'll wrap this one up. Thank you for joining us for Get It Right Texoma. I'm Mike Hendren. This is Terry McAdams. That's Trace Serrata. Thank you for being with us. Again, we want you to be sure and share this on all your social media pages. Like and share our Facebook page. And we want to hear from you. We'd love to have your comments, your feedback, and so forth. Again, this is brought to you by Eddie Hills Fun Cycles, 401 North Scott, downtown Wichita Falls, EddieHillsFunCycles.com, MacTech Solutions, 4020 Ray Road, Suite 3B, MacTech-Solutions.com, and Lolly and Pop Sweet Shop, LPSweet.com is the website. Yeah. And on Facebook, Lolly and Pop Sweet Shop.
Hey. If you eat too much of it.
Yes.
It's good. It's good, though.
Yes, you look like this. Anyway, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you taking time to be with us, and we will see you down the road. Take care.